In fact, they hate the president so much, they've shut down government. They hate him so much that if President Trump came out in favor of breathing to live, they would hold their breath. It's not rational. And I just don't know what else to do. All I can tell my Democratic friends is, look, reasonable people disagree, and I get it. But you're just being too emotional. You need to go drink a big, old, cold, tall glass of get over it. Don't. You either think that we're more important and smarter and more virtuous than the American people, or you don't. And I think we ought to be treated the same. Now, having said that, I said I agreed with what Senator Paul said. I'm just worried his name on the bill is going to get knocked out of the park. So I'm going to put it in my name. Let's do what, it's not Senator Paul's bill, it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And what Ron Johns is, we call him Ron John, I'm sorry, Senator Ron Johnson from the wonderful state of Wisconsin. What Senator Johnson has proposed, and I voted for it repeatedly, says, look, if you're deemed an essential employee right now, you're working, but you're not being paid. Senator Johnson's bill says, we're going to pay you. I voted for that. It also says if you're furloughed, if you're deemed to be non-essential, then you're not working, but you will get paid once we come out of this shutdown. Does that make sense? That's what Senator Ron Johnson has proposed. And as I told my good friend Senator Paul, I agree with him. Senator Paul's name is on that bill. It's going to be vetoed 6 ways to Sunday. I'm going to try to put my name on the bill. Maybe it'll get passed, maybe it won't, but I think I have a better chance than Senator Paul. That's just my personal opinion. It's not meant to be personal. So, for that reason, Mr. President, I'll try the third way. It's not my preferred way, but we got to get out of this mess. I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 191 S302, which, as I've indicated, Mr. President, I think we've got a chance to pass the House with it, and I really don't think President Trump will veto it if I explain to him it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reserving the right to object, let me just say this. We should make sure that every federal worker gets the paycheck that they are owed. And the right way to do that is for Republicans to finally join us and get serious about passing a bipartisan CR so we do reopen the government and prevent healthcare costs from exploding. Instead, the bill that the senator from Louisiana is asking for unanimous consent for actually lets Donald Trump and Russ Vought decide who they want to pay during a shutdown, and that will allow them to stiff everyone else. President Trump has said he will only pay the people he wants to. He literally said, and I quote, "We're going to take care of our people. There are some people who really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way," unquote. This bill would actually let Trump do exactly that. Mr. President, we should make sure all of our workers get paid, not just the workers Trump likes. So the best way to do that is for, of course, Republicans to sit down with us as Democrats, work out a solution to reopen the government. If instead you do as the senator from Louisiana suggests here, then at a minimum, it should cover all employees. And that proposal is out on the table with Senator Van Hollen and Senator Peters. Thank you, Mr. President. For that reason, I object.
Objection is heard. Chair recognizes the senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, look, I get it. You know, this is why we're in a shutdown. I just proposed a bill, it was my third choice, but it was better than nothing, to say everybody gets paid. And my good friend from Washington State objected. I don't know what else to do. I voted 14 times to open up government. I can't change the election. President Trump was duly elected President of the United States. He was, in a free election. And the American people spoke. And some of my colleagues are upset about that. In fact, they hate the president so much, they've shut down government. They hate him so much that if President Trump came out in favor of breathing to live, they would hold their breath. It's not rational. And I just don't know what else to do. All I can tell my Democratic friends is, look, reasonable people disagree, and I get it. But you're just being too emotional. You need to go drink a big, old, cold, tall glass of get over it and realize that President Trump is the President of the United States. Don't shut government down because of it. Mr. President, you've been really patient. And even though the parliamentarian tried to get you to dodge my questions, you answered them straight up, and I really appreciate it. With that, I yield. No, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
In the final moments of this hearing, the Senate chamber fell into a tension that was impossible to ignore. We watched as Senator John Kennedy, with his trademark blend of homespun rhetoric and pointed frustration, stepped back to the microphone after Senator Patty Murray blocked his attempt to advance a bill meant to guarantee pay for federal workers during the shutdown. His message was simple, blunt, unmistakable. Go drink a big old, cold, tall glass of get over it, he said, directing the remark at Democrats he believes are refusing to accept the results of the last election. Moments earlier, Senator Murray had argued that the bill would give the administration selective control over who gets paid and who doesn't during a shutdown. Kennedy countered that he'd voted 14 times to reopen the government, that he was looking for any practical path forward, even one that wasn't his first or second choice, just to break the stalemate. And yet, in the end, nothing moved. The objection stood, and the shutdown, along with the frustration, the politics, and the stubbornness behind it, remained. This exchange wasn't just a clash of personalities. It was a window into a deeper struggle within American governance, a collision of principles, interpretations, and motives that shape the way institutions operate when pushed to their limits. On one side, Kennedy insisted that responsibility demands action now, not later. That workers should not be trapped in the crossfire of political disagreement. That, in his words, the Senate has a duty to treat ourselves the same as the American people, to rise above anger and accept political reality. On the other side, Senator Murray warned that flexibility without boundaries is a dangerous invitation. That allowing the executive branch to select pay recipients during a shutdown risks turning fairness into favoritism, equity into negotiation, workers into bargaining chips. Both spoke from conviction. Both believed they were protecting the public, but only one could prevail in that moment. What we witnessed was the familiar rhythm of Washington. Urgency interrupted by procedure. Passion diluted by process. One senator pleading for movement, another insisting on caution. Kennedy framed the impasse as emotional resistance. Murray framed it as defense of stability and balance. The truth, as always, lies buried beneath competing narratives, shaped by the pressures of leadership and the expectations of millions who depend on functioning institutions. Yet the exchange raises a question bigger than any bill, any senator, or any administration. What is the responsibility of those in power when government itself stalls? Kennedy's argument hinged on the idea that elections have consequences, that the American people made a choice, and representatives have a duty to function within that reality, even when they disagree with it. Murray's argument rested on the belief that structure matters, that accountability must remain intact even in crisis, and that temporary fixes cannot compromise long-term norms. The divide isn't merely about policy, it's about how each side interprets legitimacy, fairness, and constitutional balance. And this moment revealed something unexpected, a rare flash of raw honesty about the emotional dimension of political conflict. Kennedy spoke of colleagues who hate the president so much they cannot accept a bill if it might be interpreted as a win for him. Murray spoke of protecting workers from a system she believes could selectively reward and punish. Behind every sharp word lies a deeper truth, that political leaders aren't immune to human reaction. Frustration, pride, anger, distrust. These forces are powerful. And when layered onto the machinery of government, they can shape outcomes just as much as laws or precedents. In the Senate chamber, we saw more than a disagreement about a shutdown bill. We saw a portrait of modern American political life. Two sides convinced of their righteousness, two interpretations of fairness colliding, two visions for governance locked in a stalemate neither wants, but neither will yield on. Kennedy's plea for a practical solution clashed with Murray's warning about unintended consequences. And so the standoff continues, leaving workers unpaid, functions on pause, and Americans watching, waiting for someone, anyone, to find a way forward. Moments like this matter because they reveal the character of our system under pressure. They show us how quickly good intentions can harden into gridlock, how fast a disagreement about process can become a disagreement about motives, how fragile cooperation becomes when trust collapses, and how profoundly leadership, or the absence of it, can shape the lives of ordinary people who have no seat in the chamber, no microphone, no vote in the decision. Tonight, as the Senate returned to procedural formalities and the clerk began calling the roll, the chamber sounded almost hollow, a reminder that behind every stalled vote lies a system straining under the weight of its own divisions. But moments like this also remind us why oversight exists, why debate matters, and why transparency is essential. Democracy is not quiet. It is not smooth. It is not simple. It is contested, challenged, argued, shouted, defended, and tested again and again. And that is why we document it. That is why we watch. Because in the tension of these hearings, we see the stakes of leadership. We see the pressures of representation. We see how decisions or indecision ripple through the lives of millions. And we see the ongoing struggle for a government that works not for factions, not for headlines, but for the nation itself. If we want accountability, we must demand it. If we want transparency, we must insist on it. And if we want the truth, we must keep watching closely. This has been Liberty Report USA. Support our work. Subscribe, stay informed, and stay engaged, because democracy does not defend itself.